I'm a dad. I'm a dad. D-A-D-D-Y. 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 I'm a dad. Dad. I'm a dad. D-A-D-D-Y. 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 I'm a dad. All right. And we are back.
We're back.
Episode 9, PapaBear Podcast.
Almost double digits.
Getting there.
Getting there.
To the multi-season.
The multi-season.
Yeah.
We're going to have to renew our contract here in this,
Yep.
garage here.
Yep. So we are selling out to the highest bidders.
Yeah.
Very good.
Send your offers.
Very
Private
good.
email.
As you see right now, today's topic, talking about stay-at-home dads.
Yeah. Part of a two-parter, right?
Part of a
We're gonna
two-parter.
We're going to do the flip side here in a little bit.
Yep. But that's what we're going to start with. But before we get started with that, let's talk about what's going on the podcast this week.
Let's talk about it. I got one.
Okay.
So it's actually from yesterday. We went to a birthday party. Me, my wife, both of the kids went to a birthday party for a friend of ours. We're not super close with, but they had a real nice house. It's a really big party. They had a bounce house. It's a typical kid birthday, right?
Sure.
So I know that you and your son and my son,
Mhm.
they play. They wrestle together, right?
Right.
They fight.
Yeah.
My son can be rough. Your son can be rough. Like that's
Yeah.
that's
They're
expected.
normal boys.
Yeah, that's a societal
Yes.
thing. So we're in this. I'm in like their sun area, their sunroom, talking with my wife and some other people, and I hear a little kid come crying inside, like, "This kid beat me up on purpose.
Yeah.
He's bullying me."
Mm.
And remember, this is like a 6-year-old kid, all right? So he's already bigger than mine.
And he knows the term bully at 6?
Yes,
What
I know.
the
It
hell?
was a red flag for me.
Yeah.
But he said it, and he starts describing what happens to he's like, he pushed me down and he punched me. And I was like, that sounds like my son.
Yeah, it sounds like a
Like
good move.
before he did anything else. So I got up and went outside, and they came back outside, and he pointed at my kid, and I was like, yep, that figures.
Mhm.
And so I didn't interact. I was like a creeper. I was like standing back a little bit,
Yeah.
watch and see what happened with the other dad. The other dad called my son over, and he's like, "Did you push my son down?" Blah blah blah. And my dad was like, or my son was like, not hard.
Mhm.
Like we were just playing in the bounce house. And he was like, and the little boy was like, "No, you punched me and it made me cry." And my son was like, "Sorry, it wasn't anything different than what was going on when we were out here,
Right.
And so I was like, okay, like there's two sides of this story, right? Either my son maliciously is beating up kids, which not exactly what I want to hear,
Sure.
right? And then, or this little kid's kind of a wuss and is singling out my kid because he's the one that's the biggest target. So I sit and watch, right, after they leave, because the dad does his thing. He reconciles, like, stuff happens in the bounce house, stuff happens in the bounce house, it stays there, right? So he leaves, and I'm watching. And the very next thing this kid does to my son is he grabs him by his shirt and tries to pull him onto the ground,
Oh.
right? Like,
Yeah.
hard. And my son is just, like, standing
Yeah.
around. So my son gets away from him and then turns around and jumps back towards him on the bounce house. And the kid falls over and yells for his dad, saying, "Look, he's trying to bully me. He's
Yep.
trying to bully me."
Mhm.
And Ben turns around like, "What is
Yep.
going on right now?"
Mm.
And at that point, in my head, I had figured out what had actually happened is that kid had gotten hurt one way or another and decided that he
Yeah.
needed to blame someone so that he didn't get in trouble.
Yeah.
And so the rest of the time, I'm trying to figure out, how do you have a conversation about bullying when your son's not the bully or being bullied, like
Yeah.
being accused of stuff? I was like, just don't play with that kid anymore.
Yeah. No, that's fair, because that could be a whole episode itself talking
Right.
about the differences in the raising of kids and what's considered bullying and what's considered boy nature.
Yeah.
You know,
It was a deep moment for me, because I was like, I don't know how to have this conversation. I've never had to do this
Mhm.
before. So learning on the fly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fun times, dad moment.
Very nice. Very nice. That's what's going on the podcast moment happened yesterday as well, with my son as well.
There we go.
So
Boys will be boys, man.
boys will be boys. I go down to the bathroom, go do my duties, go to sit on the toilet, and I'm like, what the fuck is wet? fucking Christ.
I already know where this story's going. This
Look right down between the leg, fucking perfect line, about 7 drops in a row. I'm like, fuck.
There's only one other person in the house with a penis.
Only one other person capable of this, and it wasn't me. So I'm like, fuck me. At this point, I'm already down. I'm already wet.
Yeah, it's too late now. You got to pee.
You're not going to get up and be like, oh, let me clean up. No, it happens. So
you clean up after.
Yeah. So I go out to the living room after. I'm like, hey, son, did you use the bathroom down here? Yeah. Did you piss on the toilet seat? No. Did you piss on the toilet seat? Yeah.
Oh my God.
You know you got to clean that shit up. Oh, I know. I know. But he was in the middle of a video game, so it was obviously time crunch.
Yeah.
Done. So
he probably didn't even look while he was peeing either.
Nope, didn't care. So yeah, that's how me sat down, got some soggy ass thanks to my son.
Oh my God. You know what? That's going on the podcast moment that I have also lived through.
Yep. Yeah. It's undefeated.
Little boys, like, no matter how hard you train them, they just don't know how to. It's weird. Like,
terrible aim.
Yeah, they do, or they just don't care. It's one of the two. They either can't aim or they don't care enough to aim.
Yeah, and then the lift and the toilet seat. I mean, that's another project.
Oh, you might as well be a career out of trying to teach a boy how to pee.
It is what it is. So
that's why I just tell my son to pee outside.
Even better. I like that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into today's topic. Stay-at-home dad. So we talked about before in earlier episodes. Tim here is our resident stay-at-home father.
I'm the specialist.
So he's going to give us the insides and outs, give us his perspective on it. Probably going to enlighten me on things I never thought about or really knew. So I'm going to be pretty much asking Tim questions, getting his experience and going from there. So to get started, I know you weren't always a stay-at-home dad. No. So you were working before. Tell us what you were doing.
So let's see. I have, multiple careers over multiple lifespans. Mostly in childcare, believe it or not. I started out I've done sales, I've done retail, I've done waitering, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Fast food, all that stuff. But probably the last 10 years before I became stay-at-home dad was childcare. I did preschool teacher, I did summer camp, I did high school teacher. So just children in general. A lot of time with children.
Okay. So you obviously had to get a degree with that, right?
I did.
You got your teacher license, things like that, right? So you've invested in this career in a sense, right? It wasn't just like I'm working job to job. There was investment.
Oh yeah.
So then what changed then from investing that time into, becoming a career man to becoming the stay-at-home dad?
Oh man. This is a weird situation. Mine's probably a little bit different than other stay-at-home dads. Okay. So I was married to my wife with the social contract that I would eventually be a stay-at-home dad.
Okay.
My wife had her life planned to the point where she has this poster. I don't know if she still has it or not, but she had one in her house of life plan. It was go to med school, get a degree, meet X, go get married, go home, have kids, right? But this guy was just a dude with muscles.
Yeah.
He didn't have a career. He didn't have anything. He just stayed. He's like a manservant.
Gotcha.
He had a bikini on and everything.
Nice.
Just waving the fan,
Pool boy.
So she had that expectation when we met, right? But she also had the expectation that if we ever had kids, that she wanted her children to grow up with a father who had a degree, because that is something important to her. And she wanted to be they didn't want her kids to be well, dad didn't go to school. Why do I have to go to school?
Oh, wow.
So that was another thing. And at the time in my life when we started dating and we're getting ready to get married, I did not have a degree. I was I think halfway through a number of ones. I hadn't decided what I wanted. I had computer engineering, and then I had graphic design, and then I had the teaching one.
Okay.
And she's you got to pick one, you got to finish it. It's really important to me, kind of a deal breaker. And I was okay, I'm in love with you. I guess I'm willing to suffer through education for 4 more years. And so I got the teaching degree, and then I realized that I actually enjoyed teaching. And that became a problem later on when I was no, well, you're not going to be teaching anymore when we have this kid. So,
yeah. No, that's a good point. So then you work with kids, and obviously before becoming a dad. So now that you've got some experience with kids, you're now dad. We have the agreement. You're going to be staying at home now. Is it harder, or is it what you expected, or is it easier than what you expected?
Second time around,
okay,
it was about what I expected. I wouldn't say it's definitely not easier, because you can do a lot of things. Think of it one time, right? Doing it 2 times is more difficult. So preparing 2 breakfasts, 2 lunches, getting 2 kids dressed, 2 kids in the car, 2 kids to school. Those things are a lot harder than doing it with just one kid.
Right.
I had it down to a science with Ben. I could get him in and out the door in like 15 minutes for school.
Right.
It was great.
Right.
Now I'm like waking up an hour and a half early so that I can get the other kid fed and dressed, so I can get Ben up, get him ready for school. And it's only going to get more complicated as they get older. But I mean, I think the first time with Ben, it was unexpectedly hard. Like I spent a lot of time with kids, so I had a lot of I understood social interactions with kids, expectations and stuff like that, how to talk to them and get them to do it. But that doesn't work at the beginning,
right?
Because they can't talk to you,
right.
Or when they do talk to you, their thoughts don't really make sense.
Sure.
So you have to kind of adjust your worldview at that point. You have to suck in all the things outside of the house and put them in this little room with your child, and you're like, all right, I have to plan for all the eventualities that could possibly happen.
Right.
You're not used to it. So, because I have him for a limited time of the day, you send him away for 8 hours and comes back. Now I'm all the time.
Okay. Makes sense. So I spend time with my kids, obviously, full days and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've seen it.
You see me there.
Yeah.
So I do that kind of stuff, but it's not the same as being the primary provider for the kids. So run me through a day in the life of a stay-at-home dad, right? Planning for the week, those kind of things.
Oh man. All right. So I'm not a great planner. That is my weakness as a person, I think.
Okay.
So I live for the day. I know what's going on that day,
Mm-hmm.
and I can plan for that eventuality. I'm also really okay with not being fully prepared for things.
Okay.
I guess that's probably just a side effect of my life. So if I show up and I'm like, I only got one diaper, I guess that means we're only staying for an hour, because if this kid craps through his diaper, we're leaving.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I planned for 2 hours, I'm going to leave. I'm okay with that. But usually it starts with the alarm goes off 6:30. Get up. I get the baby up. He's usually already awake because he doesn't sleep very well right now. Feed him a bottle. Get him changed and dressed.
Okay.
And then I wake up Ben, because if they're both up at the same time, it just compounds the complexity.
Yeah,
the
sure.
complexity of
Double trouble.
Yes, because one's crying, the other one's like, I don't want to put my clothes on, blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
So while he's fed and dressed, Ben gets up, gets dressed, gets fed. While he's eating, I'm doing lunches, packing the diaper bag, and then hopefully getting them both in the car around the same time, because if I miss it by a couple of minutes, one of them gets upset inevitably. I don't know why.
Okay.
So either the baby gets upset because he doesn't want to be in the car seat, or Ben gets upset because he doesn't want to be in the car by himself for any length of time. I don't know. This is a thing that we're going through right now. He cannot be alone right now.
Yeah.
So you gotta keep it tight,
Yeah.
Take Ben to school, drop him off, bring the kid back home. Kids get ready for a nap, and then while the kid is napping, I'm doing groceries, dishes, laundry, all the housework stuff.
Yeah.
Taking care of the dogs. Our dogs are so needy right now. One of our dogs hurt his back, so I'm gonna be 17 drugs every 4 hours or something. It feels like he's not even here anymore. He's just like a dope fiend, coming into the house.
Yeah.
So, and then by the time that's done, I go get Ben, and then there's always some after school activity. I know you know this because you have 3 kids, right? Mm-hmm. I can only imagine how bad this is going to be when I have 2, that are doing stuff. But we've got swim lessons, we've got the gym, we've got Kids Strong and all that other stuff. So really the only time of the day that's even coastable is when I'm doing housework.
Right.
Everything else is go, 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 go.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and that's a good point. There's the part of when the kids are there, obviously being the primary provider, but when they're not there, there's the behind the scenes stuff, right? Yeah. So, if you're the working dad or you're outside the home, you probably don't see all that stuff, but you experience. Now, how straining is that, getting it done? Because we see moms do it a lot.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
You take it for granted. So now that you do it, how straining is it?
It is hard. Yeah. You expect, when you come home and you expect the dishes are done and the folded laundry. I hate laundry. I hate it.
Yeah, me too.
Much. Yep. I would live out of a trash bag of clothes if I could.
Mm-hmm.
And goddamn my wrinkles, I wouldn't care.
Yep.
But those things are just. It feels like those that time. I'm trying to think of how to say this. The time that those things are happening feels like the time that you should be able to relax. Right. So when you're sitting on the couch and enjoying after work, you're like, oh yeah, so I finally get to sit down and watch some TV or unwind for 10 seconds. It feels like you don't get that during the day at home, because there's always something else that needs to be done. Right. So I think it is vastly harder than it seems now that I've done it. Right. And I'm failing at it right now that our kid is 2 months old and barely sleeping. Laundry is almost never done.
Mm-hmm.
Dishes are being done like once, twice a day at the most. Once a day at the
Mm-hmm.
most, actually. And my wife has thankfully started to pick up some of the slack that I'm just leaving all over the house. So
Right. Yeah. No, that it sounds taxing. I mean, like I say, I do that stuff part time
yeah,
for
yeah,
the most part,
yeah.
but I ain't taking the lead on none of that shit. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. So here's a follow up question then, because you are a primary provider for the kids in the sense of you're going to be with them the most.
Mhm.
Um, More so your older one, right? How do you feel spending so much more time with them? How do you feel that affects your relationship? Do you think it's stronger than, let's say, work dad who's gone away? Do you think he still has a strong connection with mom because she is mom and things like that, or how do you think that affects it?
I don't think that it directly affects it. It gives me more opportunities to affect it, though.
Okay.
So, like, because I'm around all the time, I have a lot of chances to build a relationship.
Right.
And I don't think that I necessarily have a better relationship than Nikki would if she was home.
Right.
Right. I just have so many more opportunities to just be like, this is a thing that we can grow together with, whereas
Mhm.
she has just the time where she's home. Right.
Right.
But she does a good job of making those opportunities worthwhile.
Right.
So her relationship is also really good. Like, I think if you're a working parent and you're coming home and you only get to see your kids for like maybe 2 hours or something before bedtime, if
Mhm.
you make the most of those 2 hours, your relationship's going to be just as good as the person who sees them all day.
Good point. Yeah. So it's how you use the time, not just how much you
Yeah,
have.
you can absolutely waste a whole day with a child and not gain anything from it.
Yeah, that's a good point. So going to kind of finish up here, because there's a couple of things I want to know about.
Mm-hmm.
With you being a working dad, but also a man by nature, did you ever envision yourself being a stay-at-home dad prior to the agreement that you guys made together?
No.
Um, and then with that, does it feel fulfilling, or even can it feel emasculating knowing that I'm the man and nature says I'm the provider?
Yeah.
How does that
Okay.
make you feel?
Yeah. So my dad was forced into early retirement
Hmm.
in his, like, I want to say pre-50s almost. Like,
Okay.
he was like, so he was the stay-at-home dad, not by choice, right? And there
Right.
was a lot of resentment, and you could tell. Like, he did a lot of really dumb things. Like, he would do like secret shopping or anything he could to like make a little extra money on the side.
Yep.
So he felt like he was providing. I have a lot of that, I think, in me,
Okay.
where I'm like, oh, there's an opportunity for me to like tutor a kid or do something else on the side that'll make a little bit of money. I'm like, I got to do it,
Right.
right? Like, it is not at all like just oh, I'm happy to be stay-at-home dad. Like, I am happy in my life,
Yeah.
but I feel like the nature part of our lives, it's like, hey, you need to be doing something to provide for this family, is overwhelming all the time. And no, I didn't ever expect that. I expected, like, basically from the time I was 16 to the time I die, I was going to work,
Okay.
because that's what my parents did,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
My mom is, I think, 70 something. She retired like 2 years ago.
Oh wow.
So, like,
Yeah.
it's just you work until you're dead. Like, that was my mindset. And now I'm like, well, I still have that feeling I need to work. It's just
Right.
what work needs to be redefined, I guess.
Right. And do you think is it the I need to work part to do something, or do you think it's the financial part, right? Just knowing that you're not the primary breadwinner.
Oh, that is true. Yeah. The not It feels like, because I'm not making money, that I don't have a say in what that money does.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
and my wife is very good. She's like, you're doing 50% of the work. You get 50% of the assets that we have,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So she's very much like supporting me, and I'm like, no, in my head, I can't spend more than $50 without feeling like I'm taking money from you. So, like,
Yeah. Absolutely.
that is probably the biggest financial stressor that we had, or that we ever had. Like,
Right.
it was a problem for a long time.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's good. So yeah, you've been doing the stay-at-home dad thing for a few years now.
Yeah.
And I mean, it seems to be working out well. Obviously, there's a couple of things that you're still working through
Oh yeah.
as far as getting comfortable. What kind of advice would you give to stay-at-home dads or those maybe looking to become that?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I would give a couple of things. Don't worry about the money.
Okay.
Okay. You have to think about all of the things that you're providing that take away from the financial stress of the family. So, like, you being home means no daycare, right? Which is huge.
Yeah.
It's expensive,
Mm,
right?
very
It
true.
means you don't have to worry about, like, maybe you could food prep. Maybe you can do like easy outings so that you don't have to take the kids to, the zoo every weekend or something like that, which is another membership, stuff like that. Like,
Yeah.
so you're providing a service that just doesn't give you a paycheck. You just have to think of it as my paycheck is literally just going somewhere else. Like you can, if you need to, you can break it down by hour. I did it once. Like I was making like $22.50 an hour if you counted all the stuff that I was doing in that hour.
Right.
And then I was just like, but that money just goes straight into the bank. I never actually see the paycheck. Right.
Sure.
So, and no benefits because of course,
Yeah.
you know, stay-at-home parents don't get benefits.
Yeah.
And you have to really find something for yourself outside of being a parent.
Okay.
So like you can't just be stay-at-home dad 24/7. There has to be something at some point where you're like, I'm back to being me. Like for me, it's like I go to the gym. I still do my sports. I play soccer like every week.
Good.
I get together with my friends once a week and just we do whatever we want that has nothing to do with children. Right.
Yeah. There we go.
And I think that might be just a parent thing. It might not have to be a stay-at-home dad thing, but like you just got to remember that what you're doing is important and it is providing things and not to stress about the money. That's probably my biggest advice.
Nice. Very good. Very good. No, that's awesome. You've definitely opened my perspective, give me some good insight, especially hearing from a man. You know, my wife tells me about her experience, but it's different hearing,
it's colored differently
from a man.
I feel like
absolutely.
it is.
Yeah, it is colored differently.
Fair enough.
Had to drop that in there. That was good. So yeah, I really appreciate you sharing that stuff. So tell me what you guys think. Question, comments. If you have questions about being a stay-at-home dad or you've experienced or hell, if you got some advice, you've been doing it for years, or you've completed that journey, go ahead and leave it below.
I'd love to hear how many of you guys are stay-at-home dads because I feel like I'm damn near the only one I ever talked to.
Well, didn't your wife give you a statistic on that?
Yeah, 11%. 11% of men stay-at-home dads. So you're not alone out there if you see this video.
Yeah,
there's at least one other one.
Yeah, 11% of 9 billion people in the world.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
Yeah,
that is a lot. All right,
how
guys.
How many of them do you think are watching the podcast?
I hope all 11%.
11.
I hope all 11%. All right, guys. Well, we appreciate you tuning in. We'll catch you on the next one.
See ya.